There's been a lot of talk about a civil war inside MAGA.
We've talked about some fissures that have emerged among conservatives.
Fissures? Yeah, it's totally blown up.
The administration's top counterterrorism official resigning in protest over President Trump's war with Iran.
Betrayed his campaign promise.
How the 25th Amendment is
I mean,
asked.
honestly, like the president at 380 just fucking shut up about that shit.
That fight might be coming to a head right here in northern Kentucky.
This guy named Thomas Massie. There's something wrong with him.
Representative Thomas Massie has held this seat since 2012, and despite his loyal support for the Republican agenda,
I vote with my party 91%. 91% of the time.
He's in trouble, big trouble, with President Trump.
Thomas Massie is a disaster for our party.
What's landed him in this fight for political survival? Two issues that have the potential to split the MAGA base: foreign wars and the Epstein files.
It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion.
This is bigger than Watergate.
Major combat operations in Iran.
I don't think we should start another war.
Because of this, Massie is now facing a Trump-endorsed challenger in his campaign for re-election.
This is a real hero, Ed Galrine.
And big money is backing up Trump's attempt to smear Massie. This is officially the most expensive U.S. House primary in history, with over $25.6 million spent on ads.
Where'd that money come from?
It didn't come from regular people. It's come from billionaires. At least 95% has come from the Israeli lobby.
But this race isn't just about Massie and Trump. It's a litmus test for the future of the MAGA coalition. So I'm driving around Kentucky to find Trump voters and ask them, what's driving their vote in this primary? Is it loyalty to the president? Or are the cracks in MAGA really starting to form? Hey, we're down making a video. We're looking to talk to voters about the Republican primary that's coming up. Can we talk to you a little bit about it?
Yeah, okay.
Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yes, I did.
I voted for Trump this last election.
I've got my Make America Great Again hat at home.
It's nice and refreshing to actually have someone to stand up and say, enough's enough. And so that's why I've been a Trump supporter. And why anybody opposes that, I think you're a traitor to this country.
President Trump laid out the stakes for his base in this election. Are they loyal to him or not? And with his popularity lower than ever, it might be a question of the strength of MAGA as we know it. So we asked Massie about it. Do you view your race as a fork in the road from the MAGA base?
Well, I think the MAGA base is already split, as you point out. Some have gone with the principles that Trump campaigned on. Some have gone with Trump, even when he's changed his mind on things like Epstein.
Okay, let's dig into Epstein first. For supporters of the president, the promise Trump and company made on this issue was clear.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
We need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
But that urgency from the campaign trail seemed to evaporate once Trump was in office.
I thought it was ridiculous.
John Wardrop voted for Trump in 2024. He told me that the whole Epstein thing was a big reason why.
I thought it was completely ridiculous for the people who had gone on the podcasts, millions and millions of views, and then turning around and calling it a hoax or that there's nothing in here. And I don't know if anyone in this country is going to get arrested for it, but there's only one guy that's really trying, and that's Thomas Massie.
Massie is the co-author of the bipartisan Epstein Files Transparency Act, which he guided through a hostile Republican Congress to force a public release of documents related to the case.
We fought the president, the attorney general, the FBI director, the speaker of the House, and the vice president to get this win.
But now that they're out, how do the voters feel? You think those files should have been released?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you're happy with how Massie's fought?
Yes.
For that?
Yes.
Okay, the file thing, to me, that's a dead horse, okay? End of story.
I say release it and let the cards fall where they may. You know, who knows? Maybe it might implicate Mr. Trump or President Trump.
Yeah. The Epstein files, they're not important to me. Everybody and their brother's on it. I mean, what are you going to do?
And I'm certain Republican and Democrat, a lot of them don't want it released because there's something in there that's going to come back and bite them in the buttocks.
Yeah. But with no new convictions following the release of the files, it seems like the only ones bit in the buttocks are the Republicans who actually followed through on Trump's own campaign promise.
He was extremely angry at me that I had signed the discharge petition.
Stupid people like Marjorie Trader.
I believe he's trying to protect friends and donors.
Perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history, this stupid person named Massie.
It's typical politician stuff, breaking promises that helped get you elected. But a lot of people voted for Trump because he said he wasn't like your typical politician, and they believed him when he made big promises.
At the top of my list, we'll be stopping the slide into costly and never-ending wars. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. I am the candidate of peace. I am peace. People don't believe that.
When Donald Trump was campaigning, one of his big campaign talking points was no new wars, no foreign wars.
Yeah.
How important was that to you during the campaign?
That was really important. You're going to ask me about Iran next.
Of course. For a self-described America First peace candidate, the president's second term has been international and violent. And Republicans on the whole have been pretty silent, except for Massie. In January, U.S. military intervention in Venezuela forced a regime change.
The executive's military exercise to capture the leader of Venezuela represents one of the most blatant usurpations of congressional authority we have seen in modern times.
In February, the U.S. and Israel began military engagements in Iran.
Why are we going to war with Iran? This administration can't even give us a straight answer as to why we launched this preemptive war.
Massie's opposition to this war is one of the reasons why the pro-Israel lobby has spent so much against him. The United Democracy Project, a super PAC linked to AIPAC, has spent $2.6 million on anti-Massie ads, and the Republican Jewish Coalition spent $4 million. Another super PAC named MAGA Kentucky, which is backed by 3 pro-Israel mega donors, Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Paulson, has spent $5.6 million. But what do voters, who were promised no new wars, make of all of this?
How important, when you were voting for him, was that campaign promise?
It was really important.
Trump is actually backpedaled.
Yeah.
He's backpedaled.
How did you feel once that campaign promise was broken and now we're in Iran?
Because he's doing what VV tells him to do, and that's AIPAC, and I'm not for that.
It needed to be done for a long time.
Did you also feel that way when Trump was running, promising not to get into wars? Did you feel like, well, even though he's promising this, we do need to go to Iran?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
He's the only person that didn't kick the can down the road, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they've been doing that for 47 years.
Yeah.
Somebody had to stand up and do something.
That was important to you.
Yeah.
Now we're in Iran. How does that land with you?
I haven't got an opinion on it. It depends how it turns out.
Very conclusive, totally makes sense.
Representative Massie has been the most vocal Republican critic of the administration and his party, and not just on Epstein and foreign conflicts. Where the Trump administration has been pushing for immunity for pesticide manufacturers for the use of potentially cancerous chemicals, Massie has been pushing to hold those companies accountable.
They want get-out-of-court-free cards. We're not going to give it to them.
He voted against Trump's big, beautiful bill.
Well, guess what? It added $2 trillion to the debt. I said it would, and it has.
And he bucked the majority of his party by voting against an extension on legislation that allows the U.S. government to spy on its own citizens.
A short-term infringement of the Constitution is still an infringement of the Constitution.
All of this independence, it's made him vulnerable in this primary race.
Give me somebody with a warm body to beat Massie.
Massie's primary is May 19th. He's up against Ed Galrin, Trump's hand-chosen opponent.
He's a hero. He's a farmer hero.
In a way, the election is a test of the price anyone might pay for going against Trump. Will Massie be punished by voters for disloyalty or rewarded for his independence?
How important is it to have someone who's just loyal to Donald Trump and whatever he says versus putting a check on Donald Trump?
No, definitely putting a check. You should put a check on anybody because there shouldn't be one person to rule the country.
Okay, now, that's a fine line there too. As long as your president is taking care of the country and the people from the country, then I give him 100% support. No matter what.
So, back to the reason I came out here. Which way are these voters leaning?
Is it enough that Trump supports his opponent? Would that do it for you?
No, I don't know that would swing it one way or the other. I'll look at it.
What do you think of Thomas Massie?
I think he's good. I like what he's going for. I'll definitely vote for him.
Are you voting for Ed in this race?
Yes, I am.
And what's behind that? What makes you vote for Ed?
Well, number one, Trump's endorsing him. That helps.
I believe that Thomas Massie was MAGA before MAGA was coined phrase.
I want a clear thinker. I want somebody to make their own decision, not make a phone call. How should I vote?
So does Massie have your vote?
Massie has my vote.
I talked to a lot of voters on this trip. What I found is that while there are some cracks in the MAGA movement, we don't know where they're going to go yet. And even the people crossing the president's endorsement and voting for Massie don't see it as turning against Trump.
You want more Massies? Yeah.
Yeah, if we get enough of them, and if maybe a few more Trumps, we can actually get stuff moving.
If that contradiction sounds confusing to you, you have to remember, voting against Trump's preferred candidate is still a big deal, even if the voters I talk to don't see it that way. Up until now, almost all of Trump's endorsed picks have won their primaries. And this isn't just about the voters in the district. Politicians across the country are going to be watching the results of this race closely to find out what are the consequences for standing up to Donald Trump in 2026. Maybe that's why even Massie, the Trump-critical candidate, is campaigning on their similarities and not on their differences. Despite being the target of the president's rage and the receiving end of millions of PAC dollars spent against him,
he's cheating with the squad on the America First movement.
Massie told me he doesn't see much of a problem.
I'm not running against Donald Trump. I'm running against a guy who was endorsed by Donald Trump. People recognize that, and the bulk of my voters in my polling are people who support Trump and support me. I think if I win this race, we can get the team back together. We can get the band back together.
Yeah.
It shows that you can still be for the principles that MAGA ran on.
We'll find out if that's true or not with next week's election results. But this race has got me thinking about a bigger question too. How many broken promises is too many? And which promises are the ones that matter?
Do you think if Donald Trump continues to break campaign promises, that he puts at risk the movement of people who believed?
100%. He risks people, even if he might be right on some things, feeling at least like they were lied to or even worse, betrayed.
Because broken political promises have actual costs.
How's the pain at the pump been lately?
Oh, it sucks, especially with the business we got and we're trying to start. We started this spring. 3 Amigos Lawn Care. It's me and my 2 brothers, and right now we're behind just because of the gas.
Yeah.
Because when we first was planning it all, the prices weren't here.
Yeah.
So I did vote for Trump, but Trump here lately, I've been kind of, because everything he's saying ain't really happening, you know? I do call myself a Republican, but who knows, 5 years from now, things might change.
Smash like and subscribe to More Perfect Union like Phil right here. Right, Phil?
Yeah.
And if you liked what was in this video, you can leave story ideas in the comments. You can tag us on Twitter like Phil here.